What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to make sure to like and subscribe as you tune into the channel. Check out the content. And with that being said, I want to speak on the legacy of the this generation of basketball players that are like phasing out. When you think about LeBron James, uh, Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant, and what's the other guy? Chris Paul, and like his generation that's phasing out, right? And these guys have all moved around from team to team, and they don't for the most part they don't really have a home base, like a home team where they played the bulk of their years, and they, like this is where they're represented, right? And the reason why I thought of this is Kevin Durant, their first game back, Kevin Durant was playing with the Rockets, and Kevin Durant went back to OKC to play against the Thunder. And when they announced Kevin Durant's name, Kevin Durant got booed, right? And I was thinking that, like he, a lot of this, like some of the players, the better players of this generation don't have a loyal home base where they can go and they know that they're gonna be appreciated, right? Just like when you think of you think of Kobe Bryant, you think of Los Angeles Lakers. Same thing with Magic Johnson. You think of Magic Johnson, you think of the Lakers. Bird, it's the Celtics. Isaiah is the Pistons, right? And anytime Isaiah, that fan base, Detroit Piston fan base love Isaiah. The same thing with Bird and the Celtics fan base, they love Bird. But these guys, this generation right now that is phasing out, for the most part, those big name players really don't have a loyal fan base, right? And I think that if you don't, as a player, you don't have a loyal fan base, I think that really affects it affect your legacy. You know, that generation spent a lot of their time with the player empowerment. They had more freedom of movement, right? And so they were moving around trying to set themselves up in a position where they could win rings and stuff like that. Let me see. Kevin Durant got 2 rings. Kawhi Leonard got 2. LeBron had 4 rings. And well, Chris Paul don't have any rings, right? But I think that it really, like, history looks at these players. I think they'll look at these players a little bit different than they did in players in previous generations who were very good players but chose to stay in their home teams. For instance, take Isaiah Thomas. Like Isaiah Thomas spent his entire career with the Detroit Pistons, and he won 2 rings there, right? So he won the rings. He stayed his entire time at with the Pistons, and I think so. It's obvious that like he'll have that appreciation and he'll have that fan base because that fan base was allowed to take that journey of the ups and downs with Isaiah Thomas. They was allowed to persevere, see him persevere and overcome, like getting past the Celtics, the Sixers, and the Lakers. All right, so that was good for the fan base, and it draws the fan base closer to the athlete. So Isaiah, that's why the bond, like Isaiah is loved inside of Detroit. The same thing with with Larry Bird. He'll always be, loved and appreciated because that fan base has an emotional connection to Larry Bird, the same as Isaiah in Detroit. So, is it worth it to chase rings and not have that loyal fan base? And even if you don't win rings, say like for instance, John Stockton. Now, John Stockton, they came close to winning rings, a couple times. And in Utah, John Stockton, Karl Malone, they had some really good teams. And they had a loyal fan base. And so even though John Stockton and Karl Malone didn't win any rings, I think I think because he has a home base, like he's always appreciated, and it's always love for those two guys, John Stockton and Karl Malone in Utah, right? And so even if you don't win rings, like, is it worth it to go out and chase rings and not really have a home base, or or maybe this generation that's on their way out, maybe they didn't even, to them, they don't even care, or maybe they don't realize like the impact of not having a loyal home fan base on their career, on their legacy, and to be appreciated. I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was like, I told him that, these players don't have a loyal fan base, a home base, like a forever home. But and he said that, like, their fans are spread out. So they have loyal fans, but they have fans like here, like LeBron had fans in all over the country, right? But I just tend to think it's different when you have a loyal fan base and somewhere to go to. That's almost like, like, you could be somebody who's a sofa surfer, right? And you just sleep around on people's couch, and people allow you to do that. But it's a different feeling to have your own loyal fan base, something that's yours, something that you built, and go where you are appreciated, right? Like, if you somebody who just, for the most part, it's more like you're being tolerated than appreciated, because that connection is not as strong as it could be, because these players really didn't go through anything with like any one particular city. Take, for instance, like Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard started out with the Spurs, right? And they won a championship with the Spurs. And so then he went to Toronto and won a championship there. So with Kawhi Leonard, if he had stayed with the Spurs, then definitely that fan base would have more loyalty to him. But now that he had left the Spurs, that fan base, they kind of turned their back on. The same thing when Kawhi Leonard went to Toronto, and now, he won a championship there, and so they appreciate the fact that, they won their only championship with him, but that consistency and that loyalty is not there. I think players don't realize the impact that it's going to have on their legacy when they when they continuously move from team to team. It's, and you could say the same thing about Chris Paul, LeBron James, and also Kevin Durant. Like, I don't know, like, what team, like, is like, when it comes to Chris Paul, a very good point guard. I think Chris Paul is like one of the best point guards to ever play, but he don't have like a forever home. People who like basketball will appreciate him, but that bond, that opportunity to set up a home base and set up a forever home, I think is missing, and I think that it affects their legacy. I also think that the teams that are coming in behind these guys are going to handle those type of situations differently. Like, I don't really see like what is it, Anthony Davis. I'm sorry, not Anthony Edwards leaving. Who is he with? Minnesota. I don't see him leaving Minnesota, right? I don't see Anthony Edwards leaving Minnesota, because he see the effect that, like, what happens to Kevin Durant when he left, or what happened to Kawhi Leonard when you ship around from city to city. Who else and then look at like what happened to Dame Lillard, right? Dame Lillard went to Milwaukee and things didn't work out. Now he's back in Portland. And for a long time, Dame Lillard had already always said that he was going to stay. His loyalty was with the Portland Trailblazers. He went to Milwaukee and didn't have the the chemistry that he had, and the connection to the fans that he had. And so he went back, which I thought, in my opinion, I thought that was a good move for Dame Lillard to go back you know, to the Portland Trail Blazers, because that is, no matter what happens there, that is his forever home. That's the team that drafted him. Those are the fans who have watched him, turn into the ball player that he is. Those are the fans that that like has taken that journey along with him. And so I think that's better for his legacy. I think the fans of today, I mean, not just the fans, but the basketball players of the day, like Shea Alexander over in OKC, I think he'll probably stay. I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think you're going to have as much movement when it comes to superstar ball players as you did during the LeBron James era, because it's just so much. Uh, it's a lot of criticism that they take. They're constantly being scrutinized, and then if you wind up not, even if you do win, it's just that they'll be like, well, you cherry picking, like they say with Kevin Durant and LeBron James, like you just cherry picking. You're going to set up yourself to play with better better players, rather than trying to being satisfied with what you can do with your team, how you can build your team and get your team past these hurdles and obstacles, in your own way. That's the way basketball was back in the day. Most players, especially superstar players, stayed with the teams, and it was a lot less movement, player movement, unless a team traded you, like in the twilight years of your career. Maybe they traded you or something, but for the most part, everybody remembers Allen Iverson. Even though Allen Iverson never won a championship, everybody knows that Allen Iverson is a Sixer. And Allen Iverson, he played for the Grizzlies and he played for the Denver Nuggets, right, for a little while. But that came at the tail end of Allen Iverson's career when everything was over with. But Allen Iverson is beloved in Philadelphia. But these guys right here, they don't have like a city where they are beloved. And I think that makes a difference in your legacy. And I think that a lot of people, towards the end of their career, they really realize this. That's why, like I said, these teams, these kids of the day, I don't think you'll see as much player movement. They'll just, if they don't have to move, or they'll probably try to recruit people to come to play with them if they're a superstar player. But for the most part, I think in this upcoming generation, I think you're going to see a lot less player movement, because players realize the importance of having a home base, and that home fan base. So that's my take on this. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Also, don't forget to leave a comment, and I'll check you all out in the next video. Peace.